Yo, so I'm talking to Wifey, right? And we were just talking about different aspects of religion and just spirituality and just different perspectives of different things of life. You feel me? One of the topics we was talking about was I don't think people or Christians per se don't know how ridiculous of a story they follow because I don't think they actually even said it out loud to understand the concept of what they're doing. So I'm about to give you a summary of what Jesus Christ is. So apparently, hold on, let me gather my thoughts because this is. So first off, the Sky God made Adam and Eve. Then after that, he also made a talking snake devil. So with that being said, basically the talking snake devil, despite this Sky God being all knowing and all powerful, whatever, he created his own enemy and did refuse to eradicate him from existence to destroy the problem before it even start type shit. So apparently this snake slithered his way into the Garden of Eden, and apparently he tricked Eve into eating from a tree. Now, this tree specifically is more so on the aspect of a knowledge tree. So you gain knowledge. So my bad, quick interruption. But so apparently this knowledge tree that this God made, he told Adam and Eve, who is two both grown people, that they can do or eat anything in this garden itself except from this tree that gives you knowledge. So already the Sky God wants them to be stupid. So, oh, I almost forgot to include that apparently Eve came from Adam's rib. So instead of woman giving birth to man, that man gave birth to a woman. And then apparently that cycle somehow stopped for whatever reason. But anyways, fast forward back to what I was saying as far as the aspect of the garden. Now, when they're in this garden, the Sky God said that they can have any type of eat from anything in this garden except for this tree of knowledge. So apparently, this snake devil man apparently creeped his way up on to Eve and got in her head, tempted her to partake in the tree of knowledge by eating from the fruit. And she not only did that, but she also talked Adam into eating from that fruit. First off, before I even continue with this story, I want to say Eve came from the concept of the mitochondrial Eve gene, and Adam came from the atoms which are in your body. That aside, so after they both partook in this tree of knowledge by eating from this specific fruit that gives you knowledge out of all other fruits, after they ate that, they realized that they were naked and they realized that they knew what being a human being is by also have I also have to throw in the concept that they were both grown when Adam created Eve, and you feel me, just they were in existence. So they had no knowledge of anything, not even being naked, until they partook in that apple that made them gain knowledge of knowing that they're naked and adults, and you feel me, knowing what life is itself. So after that, God not only banished Adam and Eve from the garden, but he also cursed them out of the garden to the aspect of where they have to go find somewhere else to live, basically. With that, he also did not still destroy the devil that he created because of I don't know what aspect. So basically, the sky god cursed the devil as a snake. So now he has to live his rest of his life as a snake, roaming on his belly on earth for all of eternity. Instead of just eradicating the problem in the first place. But anyways, fast forward back to Adam and Eve being outside of the garden. So them being outside of the garden, basically like they found some new place to live or whatever, had kids, Cain and Abel. Apparently Abel killed Cain or Cain killed Abel, one or the other. And after that, um those were the only three people in existence for the most part. So after that, I don't remember the concept of what happened to Adam himself, but for all I know, all three of them is just repopulating the earth by creating babies and shit. So not only is this incest, but you fast forward that, that's how basically from their concept of life that people is in existence. So when you add that into perspective, that's how Mary, the Virgin, became in a play, right? So she's somewhere from 12 to 14. So the sky god decides to randomly impregnate her, but not through the actual cycle of life. He somehow magically teleported himself into Mary, and then she somehow gave birth to Jesus. So not only is this sky god a rapist, but he's also a pedophile, not to mention um never mind, I ain't about to get into that. But anyways, so that's how Mary had Jesus, right? So apparently at some point in time she gave birth within those 9 months of being 12 to 14, and that's when Jesus in existence. Now Jesus is not just the Son of God, he's also God himself. So with that being said, I'm trying not to laugh and I'm trying to keep my thoughts focused. So with that being said, basically Jesus is God himself, but at the same time, Jesus is also God's son. While also at the same time, the only way through heaven is through Jesus Christ, apparently. And if you don't, then you will have to spend all of eternity in hell with other people like the devil that don't believe or went against what God say, apparently. And because of that, even though the devil isn't even in hell himself, he's on earth apparently cursing other people. Apparently you go there and you suffer for all of eternity because of the aspect of you not believing in the sky god, and basically, like as I said, you're basically going against what he wants, like the devil did. So you're supposed to suffer in all of eternity even as a soul. So you're supposed to apparently feel fire and burn and be tortured and all that shit. So fast forward back to what we was talking about. So Jesus is apparently God, and apparently Jesus is only God's only son. So even though we're apparently God's children as well, we're still not God's children. So more so we're God's servants in a way. You feel me? So, but I ain't about to get into that yet. That was off the concept of slavery. But anyway, so where was I at? So basically because of that, Jesus, oh, let me tell you about his life before he got on the cross. So apparently in his years before his dying age of sacrificing his weekend for us, in his lifetime as growing up, he was not only a carpenter but also a fisherman. So apparently with that being said, he he has home improvement skills and survival skills as well. But that aside, by the time he got to the cross of being on the cross, so apparently that some other people some other people hated on Jesus because they didn't believe in him, right? So what they did was, because they didn't believe in his powers of him being able to heal the blind and do things like turn water into wine and walk on water, even though that's Jesus Lebeck, not Jesus Christ, apparently. Um, so apparently, because he can do all that, being the Son of God and the all powerful God of God, I guess, being himself, um, they didn't believe in that, right? So apparently, despite him being able to do all these supernatural things to godlike um extent of nature, apparently they didn't believe, so they had a problem with that. So basically, no different from what the actual Inquisition did as far as killing non-believers and all of that. Um, they apparently tortured Jesus Christ, beat him, put a thorn rose on his head or a thorn crown on his head, and then apparently somehow put a cross together, then nailed him on the cross by hammering his legs and feet with nails and a hammer. So after that, not only did Jesus say, God, why have you forsaken me? Despite him being himself, but still somebody else by being his son. He said that. Then, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Also, before we got to the part of him being on the cross, he also apparently went to the desert with no one, but somehow this is recorded records. And apparently, he had a talk with the devil, but denied the temptations of what the devil was trying to give him, being the world. Despite me apparently, or despite them apparently saying that because Sky God is God, he already has the whole world in his control. But apparently the devil does as well, because Sky God is not only not doing his job, but he's also letting him, the devil, just succeed in life apparently. And not only that, but torturing all of us. So Jesus denied. Jesus denied the devil's temptations of trying to give him the offers of the world. Fast forward back to Jesus being on the cross. So he's apparently on the cross at this point, and after saying he forsaken himself, but it also being his father that forsaken him, he apparently decided to give up his weekend by dying on the cross for our sins, because apparently if he didn't do that, then we're all doomed for hell anyway, because of the devil winning by collecting souls. But apparently Jesus wanted to prove how powerful he was, so he sacrificed himself by dying on the cross. And apparently that destroyed our sins, to where he took the sins from us that we ain't got to worry about. But then at the same time, we have to burden every sin of every generational curse, because apparently he didn't at the same time die for our sins, despite him apparently dying for our sins. But anyways, after that, he died, then rose again for 3 days like Osiris. I'm sorry, not Osiris, either the sun god Ra or Osiris, one or the other. It's been a minute since I, you feel me, read the Kemet stories. But after that, apparently he gave up his weekend for us by coming back to life 3 days later. And apparently there's no concept or actual continuation of the story to say what he did after he came back again, because after so much of him doing whatever he did, he apparently died again. But then apparently at the same time, despite him being gone decades ago from his apparent existence in whatever time in history that is, he's supposed to still come back to save everyone by saving them from the apocalypse of Armageddon in heaven or hell, by saving all the lost soul. I mean, saving all the good souls by coming down here to earth, taking all of us back up to heaven, and then apparently the ones that don't deserve to go to heaven has to stay on earth and roam on the apocalypse, I guess, until they die and go to hell. But other than that, that's pretty much the whole concept of what Jesus Christ is, and how people blindly worship this motherfucker that they don't even know, and even put two and two together to understand that this is a mythological story that's full of shenanigans and illiterate brainstorming to basically just brainwash y'all into a cult.